Welcome one and all to the Raven Gaming YouTube channel. I'm your reigning monarch, King Costi, and today I'm joined by the man with the sexiest voice this side of Wandsworth, proprietor of Pimpage himself, Guilty Grey.
Well, thank you. It feels like a lot to live up to, but thank you so much.
Today we're going to be taking a step back in time and retrospectively looking at one of our favourite games, Hollow Knight. So we're going to be breaking this video down into 5 sections. We have gameplay, lore, difficulty, bosses and DLC. Hope you enjoy. Topic 1, gameplay. For the gameplay, I think it's very simple controls, but it's effective. There's a lot of power-ups and abilities in the game, but I feel like it's well mapped out on the controller. You know, you're not necessarily searching around trying to find the right button to do the right thing. It does feel like everything's in the right place, but I mean, it is your standard jump, double jump, wall hug platformer. Like I was saying, the controllers do feel fair. Maybe not as clean as other games, but then again, it did come out in 2017, so I'm sure that there have been some changes and definitely quality of life improvements since then. The platforming is very fun. Sometimes it can be harder than it actually is, just solely based upon like the enemy placement. Going to talk about platforming, got to bring up the White Palace. I mean, for Christ's sake, I think his interior designer's jigsaw, like it's fucking
Saw traps everywhere. Saw traps over here. Who needs a throw rug?
Imagine going for like a job interview there, and there was like, yeah, I've got an appointment.
It's just upstairs.
Yeah, it's just down the hall, past the retractable spears, over the oscillating saws. Has anybody ever made it to a job interview now? No. But
the first person to make it gets the job, so fuck it.
Yeah, you get there, he's dead.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the gameplay is good. I do feel that it's very much timing based. You've got the manipulation of platforms using the downward strike, as you know, to bunny hop off of stuff. I'm not the most dexterous person in the world, so it does frustrate me at times, but I do enjoy it overall. I do wish we could see a bit more diversity within combat. I think that just having the single strike, the one projectile outward blast, downward smash, and the upward kind of blast, I don't feel like it's enough for me. They don't always work. A lot of the enemies are very ground centric as well, so a lot of those things just don't really work out. You've got a few flying enemies, smaller mobs especially, that upward blast can really take them out, but you've got the bosses, they're all ground based. So really and truthfully what we're looking at is only really one strike that can hit them, which is the forward blast. I would have liked to have seen a bit more variety with that, to kind of give you your own way of working it, you know, your own kind of spin on the game. The charm system I think is good. I think that it does give you a chance to kind of build your own fortifications on the simple combat. So you've got, you know, you can make yourself a bit more tanky, give yourself more life, longer reach, faster strikes, harder strikes, etc. But I don't feel, in my opinion, it does enough for me to be well-rounded and overall amazing, basically.
I think it's more the leveling up system that I think keeps you interested. And yeah, there is maybe not so much versatility in the attacks you were given within the game.
Something they can learn upon and go forward, you know, change it up. I always refer it back to Ori and the Will of the Wisps and how that changed up its system from the first one. These things can be implemented, and if they do it, I think it will be the absolute perfection.
I think the improvements upon where this game sits within their timeline is already evident, which is a good thing going forward for their future games.
For sure.
Topic 2, we'll be discussing lore. Gray, do you want to take us through lore?
Yeah, thank you very much. I've always been a big fan of lore in general. I've always done deep dives into games like Dark Souls, anything like that which doesn't have very apparent lore. And this game is one of those games. It's got lore throughout, but it is stuff you have to really kind of fight for. It does have a story. If you kind of pay attention, you'll see it revolve around the Pale King and trying to battle this encroaching illness, if you will, which is in the form of the radiance and the light and the corruption. Tries to create these artificial bodies and create vessels in which to house this, to kind of seal it away. And you actually play, spoilers for anyone who hasn't played it, one of these failed vessels. And as you progress through the game, you become what is classified as the perfect vessel. You fight the Hollow Knight, who is the previous vessel, and then you get the choice at the end of the game to either take on the Radiance or to basically fight it outright and try and kill it. I think it's good. I like the fact that the lore is kind of spread throughout and you have to search for it. I think to me that kind of plays into my loves of a game of not being too spoon-fed, having to really hunt for it and fight for it. I really like that. How much of the lore did you kind of pick up in your playthrough, Cos?
Parts of it, I mean, like from what I picked up, similar to like you're saying there, the Radiance kind of trying to control insects, and you got the Pelking trying to create the perfect hollow vessel to trap the Radiance in, which was very interesting. The thing I liked was kind of like, as you travel through the world, you see these discarded shells that haven't been able to make it out of Hollow Nest, and you even have characters that you meet, like Quarrel and the Stag are two that kind of stand out for me, who are kind of rediscovering Hollow Nest as well themselves, but they both, especially Quarrel has a purpose, like he's Moman's assistant, one of the dreamers,
Yeah.
and when you kind of have seeing him progress through the story alongside you, I think is a good thing, because then it doesn't feel like an inside joke that you're not a part of. It's everybody's discovering something at the same time, and everyone is, you know, reawakening, eventually finding their purpose, and also accepting what it is they have to do within Hollow Nest. Brilliant story. I like it. I mean, obviously, maybe complex in some places. Maybe, yeah. But no, brilliant. I mean, it's standard. The more you search, the more you'll get, I think, is the thing. Otherwise, you could just have the standard story trying to wipe out this disease, and
Basically,
it would be base level.
Like a Dark Souls story to run through, hack everything, and hope for the best. And of course, it does introduce us to one of the best characters, and probably my favorite bug waifu, Hornet, who is absolutely amazing. For a character, considering this is about bugs, some of the characters have got some quite big nuance, and I don't know. Anyone who hasn't, I'd advise looking into the story of, like, say, the Knights and the Protectors and the Queen, because there was a Queen to the Pale King too, who you can discover in the game, and she had these knights who protected her and fought for her. You know, you fight some of them along the lines, and they have a fall from grace, which kind of changes them out, like the Dung Defender and stuff like that. And there is a whole story about how they were so great and how they've kind of fallen from greatness. And, you know, even with stuff like, you know, Sly, the general merchant, who is the great nailsmith, nail sage, who teaches everyone how to use nails. It's absolutely crazy. So much to look into, and it's definitely worth it if anyone can.
Every character has a great story behind it. That's the fantastic thing you find out. Nothing is filler, which is nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's lore, bitch.
Topic 3, just going to touch on difficulty. I mean, don't think there's necessarily a lot to speak of here. The
game's hard.
The game's hard. Yeah. That's it. The game's hard. Next topic. No, it is. It's challenging more than anything else. I think, like I said before with the platforming sections, sometimes it can be the arrangement of things, like the Colosseum. Some enemies, they'll give you a group of enemies who are very simple to beat individually, but together they're just I don't know, it's like they've turned 3 rolling pill bugs into the Justice League or some shit. But it's just amazing how the game can get you like that. Is, you know, you'll beat a hard boss, and then all of a sudden you'll get destroyed by I don't know what, just the most inept enemy ever. But it's no, it's hard, it's challenging, but I think with these games, as you go along with them, your skill level grows, and the things that were difficult to begin with all of a sudden become very easy.
Yeah, no, I think there's a skill curve with this one. The only thing I feel like it's hard, but it's not unjustifiably difficult until you get to the Colosseum stages, where I feel, like I said before, you got ganky enemies, but then you have awkward kind of mechanics within the stages, spike traps and stuff along those lines. I think that's a bit cheap. It cheapens the difficulty. It says, like, these enemies aren't hard, but you can't touch the floor now. And that's in my opinion
exactly what you mean.
Not what I classify as great difficulty spiking. But that's only one tiny section of the game. The rest of it is fantastic, apart from the path of
I would agree.
Yeah.
Next topic we're going to be discussing is bosses. I'm going to pass that over to Gray.
Yes. Now, some of the most standout bosses for me in any Metroidvania indie game that I've seen, and I've played quite a few. I'm a big proprietary fan of Ori and those games, but I do prefer the way this handles its boss battles. The boss battles in this are absolutely amazing. None of them are really unfair. I mean, we had that conversation earlier around the Watcher Knights, which is annoying because there's multiple of them, and that is a bit ganky. But really, other than that, the rest of the bosses are just perfectly made. They're split-second reactions. They're, you have to dodge, you have to strike at the right time, you have to know what's coming, look at their tails. It's very much like Dark Souls in that sense. And yeah, I think that this game absolutely smashes it out of the park when it comes to boss battles. And all they did is made more and made them better and made them harder as they went forward, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Standout for me is always going to be Mantis Lords. Amazing boss fight. And Ganky, but not unfair. 2 against 1, still fuck them up though. What do you think?
No, I don't. No, I'd agree with you. Mantis Lord's perfect battle. That battle has a way of making you feel like a platforming god or something.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly paced. Like you go from fighting 1 to 2, and like I say, the two, when it goes from fighting 1 to 2, the 2 enemies do move in time. So that's what it's about, finding those small moments in between each of their attacks to hit one of them or hit both of them. And when you get locked into the rhythm, it's just amazing. Another boss I'd point out would probably be Dung Defender. I love Dung Defender, but mainly just for like the feel of it. It's very whimsical and funny, but also just the design of the boss. I think that's more down to boss design than actual difficulty.
Yeah,
He's not necessarily a hard boss.
He's entertaining as well as being quite good mechanically as a fight, to be fair.
Was it Doma? That's a load of crap flying everywhere. That's what I'll say. It's a load of crap. It's brilliant. And even Radiance, the final one, I like that it kind of just, the fight gets progressively, its attacks don't get harder, but it gets progressively harder because it takes away how much of the stage you have. 1 minute you have the whole stage, then you have half the stage, then you have the middle of the stage, then you have floating platforms. It just ramps up, and sometimes some of the platforming parts in this, but some of the boss parts as well, can be extremely challenging. But once you overcome it, I think games like this always have that feel good factor. Once you beat a boss that is a challenge, the game's not giving it to you, you had to take it.
Yeah, there's no cheesy option. It's just you have to learn it, do it, make it work, and it's just rinse, repeat. One boss battle I don't think you've come across yet, Sisters of Battle, which is the Mantis Lords ramped up to 11, which is when you fight all 3 at once. That is hard as nails, and it's in the Godmaster DLC, so if you can ever get around to that, it's in one of the Pantheons. Well worth a try.
Give that a go. I will give that a go for the pain of it.
Yeah, man.
So final topic, just going to be talking about the DLCs. Obviously, as the game came out in 2017, these DLCs have been out for a while. Luckily enough for us picking up this game at a later date, they were all available to us essentially from day one. It's amazing. Like, all of the DLCs feel very integrated into the game and don't feel like they stick out. Just the 2 big ones I'll pick up on are the Grim Troop DLC, which is very fun, very whimsical. This performing troop shows up out of nowhere. You get a cool little charm, which is like a little devil that can attack your enemies. And it's just really fun, to be fair. And Grim himself as a boss is really hard. Nightmare Grim is a nightmare. And I always like that when they put new bosses into the game that are harder than any of the other bosses in the game, because it is kind of like, if you've made it to the end of the game, then you've already defeated the challenge that they've already given to you. So give me a harder challenge. And I like that that's what they do with Grim, but more so with the Pantheons. With the Pantheons, definitely they up the challenge level massively. I mean, the first 3 Pantheons maybe not necessarily too hard because it's not any bosses that you haven't fought already, but once you get to the 4th one and you're fighting ascended versions, and then you get to the 5th one, which is the Pantheon of Hollowness, which if you're lucky you'll finish that in an hour and a half, and that's and that ends with you fighting Absolute Radiance, who is like Radiance except harder. Amazing. I've read any game that is very boss centric. If they give you an ability to replay the bosses, I absolutely love it. And if they add a boss rush mode, even better, because then you're not having to start a game again, having to run through just to play specific bosses that you really enjoy. If we want to play the Mantis Lords, just go to the Hall of Gods and you can play it, and that's brilliant.
No, I agree. And Sekiro obviously has just come out with its own version of this, which I know you're in love with and you've completed already. The DLC for this game is absolutely amazing. I think the way they've implemented it is great. Like, the Grim Troop one is way more story centric. It has its own kind of little sub story, which it's just quite good the way you've done it. You can still do the main game at the same time of doing the Grim Troop stuff, it's a side quest, and it's constantly there, and it's kind of woven into the entire story of the game, which I think is fantastic. Obviously, the Godmaster stuff has its own mini story with these guys who are looking for the ultimate kind of god song, I think it's called, or god reverberance or something like that. And so they bring you in to fight all these bosses, and again, they're hard as nails, and you have to try and fuck them all up. So yeah, the DLC is amazing. Really and truthfully, we have to think about now is when the hell is Silk Song coming out, and when are we going to play it? Do we have to buy a Nintendo Switch for it?
I think if you wanted to play it on release, I think you will need to buy a Nintendo. I mean, they've already announced that it's going to be exclusive on there on release. I think, did Hollow Knight come out on Switch first, and then it came out on PlayStation and Xbox?
No, it was on PC first. Switch. It was in Switch in June, and then released in the others in September. So it's the same year.
Okay, same year, but just a little bit. Okay, so that's not a massive thing. What I was going to say is with it, it's a game that has a massive cult following. I'd say a lot of people love this game, and I can imagine that from what we have seen of the gameplay of Silk Song, it does look like they have a lot of mechanics in place already. I wonder if they're waiting until they announce the Switch 2, because there's supposed to be news on Switch 2. And I can imagine having a game like that it would help launch a new console, possibly. Like if a Switch 2 was 250 quid, for example, or a Switch Lite or something, would you pick a Switch up to play Silk Song?
I can't say it's a system seller for me. It's good, but it's not a system seller for me. I'd wait, because I know for a fact it would come out on the other platforms. It would have to. Games this size, they can't be independent on the platform. It's just as kind of small as the Switch. So I don't think I would. If it came out on the original Switch as well, I'd probably pick up an original Switch for it. I wouldn't go for a new Switch on it. So we'll have to wait and see what they decide upon, I suppose. Hopefully they get around to doing it soon, because they announced it a while ago and we still ain't heard any fucking thing about it. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like, I mean, I say it seems like it's going to be more open world. I don't know how that Metroidvanias are very, they are open world in themselves, but I think there's going to be sort of like mission task bars, which sounds interesting, having different missions on the go. Maybe keep you a bit more locked into what you're doing is a nice feature, but yeah, just can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah, same. All right, so we've discussed what I think are the five, which we can agree upon, are probably the five biggest draws to this game that we have. With that being said, what's your overall opinion of this game? What would you say to the listeners and viewers of this?
I would say if you have the opportunity to pick this game up and play it, you should. There's no excuse to be fair. It's on Game Pass. It's just been released on PlayStation Plus as well, Game of the Month, so you can pick it up free on that as well. Don't like to say believe the hype, because a lot of people hype this game. I heard a lot of hype behind it as well myself, but if I'm trying to think of the way to explain it, if Alfred Hitchcock and Disney were to make a movie, it would be Hollow Knight. That's the best way to put it. It's charmingly dark. What about you, Gray? What would you tell the listeners?
I'd say pick it up. Yeah, it's free on Games Pass. Like I said, now it's free on PlayStation Plus. If you haven't played it already, play it. If you have played it before, but it's been a while, go back and play it again. I recently picked up again after playing it last year. I'm still enjoying it. It's a beautiful game. It's presented well. Obviously, there are a few things they could fix, which I'm hoping they do with regards to. It'd be nice to see it in 4K and stuff like that if they can do that with the next generation consoles. But those are quality of life stuff. In general, amazing game, great lore, great gameplay, well worth a replay, even if you've already played it before. So yeah, get your hands on, guys.
Thanks a lot for joining us today, guys. That's all the time we have for today. Make sure to check us out on all our socials at Raven Gaming UK, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also, please leave a comment down below, give us a like and a subscribe, let us know what you'd like to see in the future. Currently trying to grow our community. It's goodbye from me, King Costi, and it's goodbye from my compatriot, Guilty Grey.
Bye-bye.
Take care and have a great day.